And here's 8,000 points of an Imperium force for an Apocalypse game I'm having against Dom today. 8,000 points aside. Here's my little mix of units, a bit away from the usual. So we have, I think we've got 4 detachments in here in total. I'll go through them each on individually. Down here we have one that I'm dubbing a kind of an Inquisition / Ministorum Vanguard detachment here. And this is going to be led by Grey Fax and Celestine at the back here with her 2 Gemini, and that's got 1 squad of Battle Sisters of 10 there with 2 melter guns. We have a Crusader squad, a Jacaro, and a Death Cult Assassin squad in there as well. For those of you who are thinking that obviously that's not possible, as we're playing narrative, the standard rules for mixing like Imperial units doesn't apply in this situation. So I elected to make it kind of an Inquisition that Grey Fax had commandeered for this, because she is kind of the warlord of the army as well. We also have a singular Vanguard detachment, which is basically just these 4 assassins. So, you know, 1 of each. So Cladis, Vindicare, Evasaur, and a Calexis. And on the left side of this force, we have a Grey Knight battalion. Starting off with the HQs here, we have a Librarian in Terminator armour, and he's also joined by a Grandmaster. Who's in Nemesis Dreadnought armour. He's got a great sword, heavy side cannon, and incinerator. Troops choice wise, we have 3 strike squads, 2 6-man here, both with a side cannon and a Justicar with a demon hammer, and also a 10-man strike squad here with 2 side cannons and a Justicar with a demon hammer. They'll be riding in these 3 dedicated transports here, so 2 Rhinos and a Razorback. Elites wise, we've got also a Paladin squad here, which is 9 of them, 1 incinerator, 1 side cannon, and the rest are all armed as shown. And also there is a apothecary here as an additional add-in there. Fast attack choices, we have a interceptor squad here, all armed as shown, and the Justicar's going to be on with the falchions there just to sort of differentiate him out. Heavy support choice, we have a Land Raider Redeemer here. Looking forward to using that. We also have a Nemesis Dreadnought here with side cannon and Gatling silencer. And then finally, for the last heavy choice here, we have a Purgation squad with 4 side cannons and just a 2 backup of 1 Justicar with a halberd and another halberd on there as well. And then finally, for the Grey Knights, in the Flyers choice, we have 2 Storm Ravens, 1 with las cannons and 1 with assault cannons. So that's the Grey Knight force. Now also in this 8,000 points here, we have a battalion of Red Scorpions called in by Grey Fax to assist in this situation. We have 2 HQs here obviously, so we have a Primaris Captain and a Librarian. We also have a 10-man scout squad with sniper rifles, 2 tactical squads here, which is going to be both as the same, both 1 melter upgrade, and they're riding in these 2 Rhinos here. We also have 1 intercessor squad here, all armed as shown, and the sergeant's got a power sword. A few elite add-ons here. We have 1 apothecary and 1 Primaris apothecary, and then also a Redemptor Dreadnought with the plasma upgrade and the Gatler on the other hand there. Also got the Icarus launcher to add on for good measure. Heavy choice wise, we have a Land Raider Helios, no additional upgrades on that. And then finally, in the flyer slot for them, we have a Castus Assault Ram. What Apocalypse game would be complete without a few super heavies to sprinkle in here? So we have 3 knights that I've added in. I think we've got a Warden, a Paladin, and I think it's the Crusader. They're all armed as shown, with the only upgrade on the carapace being the I think it's the Iron Storm launcher on the top there. So that is my 8,000 points of Imperial side. So now we'll see what Dom's bought for his side of this battle.
This is Dom from Blacktoad Studios, and here's my 8,000 points of Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum. I've got 3 detachments, got a brigade, a battalion, and a super heavy detachment, so a lot of nice toys. So let's start over here with the brigade. So down here we have got 2 tank commanders. We've got tank commander in a executioner with plasma sponsons and a las cannon. We've got a tank commander in a vanquisher with a las cannon. We have got the overall warlord, who is a grand strategist with Core of Aquila down here with a power fist and a command squad there behind with flamers and a missile launcher. We've got another company commander back here with a power sword and a plasma pistol. 2 platoon commanders there, a priest, a psyker. Into more of our elites, we've got 2 special weapon squads with plasma guns. We have got a big chunk of infantry here. We've got 6 squads of infantry, all with flamers and missile launchers in each. Back here, we've got some of our fast attack. We've got 3 hellhounds of different variants. Standard hellhound, your devil dog, and your bane wolf there. We have got a salamander scout vehicle. Moving along, we have got several Russ squadrons here. Starting over here, we've got a demolisher with heavy bolters. We've got 2 standard Russ with las cannons and heavy stubbers. We've got 2 standard Lehman Russes here with hunter killers and las cannons. We've got a Punisher here with heavy bolter sponsons and 1 in the hull. We have got a demolisher on the end here with multi-melter sponsons, a las cannon and hunter killer. We've got the Salamander command vehicle here. We've got the Trojan support vehicle at the back there. And of course, an engineer will be aiding him throughout the battle there. We've got another squadron at the back here with 3 exterminators, all of which have heavy bolters in the hulls, and they don't actually have the heavy stubbers there. At the back here, we've got a Vendetta gunship. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4 Valkyries, 3 of which have missile pods. 1 has Hellstrike missiles with a las cannon. Down here we've got 4, so that's the battalion. Down here we've got 4 of the Taurox Primes in the, sorry, that was a brigade, this is the battalion. So 4 Taurox Primes as dedicated transports. And then down here we've got the Stormtrooper element. So we have got a squad down here with 2 melter guns. Another squad here with 2 melter guns, a commissar there, a command squad with 4 volley guns, another squad there with 2 melter guns, another command squad there with that's got 3 plasma guns and a medic, another squad down here with 2 volley guns, a slightly larger squad with 2 volley guns, and 1 more squad down here with plasmas, 2 melters, sorry. In the centre, we've got the commander with a power fist, another commander there with a plasma pistol, and a commissar lord with a power sword and a power fist. So that is the bulk of the army here. Now let's move along to the fun stuff, because being at 8,000 points of guard, you can't get them all on one simple board edge. So let's move along here, people. So down here we have got the Stormblade Super Heavy, first time on the channel, 2 las cannons, a massive plasma cannon. Back here we have got 2 Bane Blades with las cannon heavy bolter sponsons, and finally here we've got the Shadow Sword. So in total I think I've got 21 command points. I might be wrong there, but I might actually have 23, but we'll have a work out and see what I've got. So the overall warlord is the guy down here. Let's have a look to see what the battlefield and deployment looks like. I knew I'd do it, there was so much stuff, and I've forgotten these 3 armoured sentinels at the front here. So I've got 2 plasma cannons on these sentinels, and another one here with missile launcher and a hunter killer there. So there we go, there's 8,000 points of guard. Now let's have a look at the battlefield and deployment.
And here is the board for our 8,000 points apocalypse game. And as you've seen both forces, here is the battlefield and deployment. So first of all, the mission that we'll be playing is called Exterminatus. This is straight out of the chapter approved book. Premise is reasonably simple, 6 objectives on the board. We'll show you them quickly now. So we have one down here, and we have one over here, and we have 2 in the middle here, one here, and another one here, and another one on the landing pad over there. We'll be playing from this end to this end. Haven't decided the sides yet. However, at the end of the game, each point is worth 1 victory point. Each Titanic vehicle killed is worth 1 victory point. And also there's a Slay the Warlord for 1 victory point. So that is the idea. However, the idea of this particular mission is the fact that Dom's force has been suspected of heresy. Suspected by Inquisitor Grey Fax, and not proven, suspected, and she has accumulated what she could in the local system of various forces to come and investigate the area. However, things have escalated into an all-out conflict due to some confusion and some possible proof that the Grey Knights want to get hold of. However, we will see what happens as we come to the deployment and how the armies have laid out.
Right, so both sides have now deployed. Quick little thing which I forgot to mention, the brigade and the super heavy detachment in my army are Acadian regiment, and the battalion are of course Militarum Tempestus. So we'll see some nice little bits coming out for both of those forces in this game. So over here you can see like the main guard force have deployed. We've got a few squads of stormtroopers in reserve. We've got pretty much one platoon of troops over here guarding this objective with some lighter vehicles protecting it. Back here we've got a super heavy lurking behind the building. Valkyries along the back run here, not needing to be on the front line. In the centre we've got 2 Baneblades and a couple of squadrons of Russes. Over on this flank with another objective, we've got another platoon of troops with the command element back here, and we've got a lot more Russes along the front. And in front of the Russes we have got some Taurox primes as dedicated transports. All of these are loaded up with troops, and with the guy coming out the top here, we've got the commissar. So very nice force laid out here, and across the battlefield we have got the Imperial mix. We've got a couple of Storm Ravens here. One has got stuff in it, the other is empty. Got a Land Raider back there. In the battlements here we've got some scouts and a librarian and apothecary holding the line there and holding that objective. We've got the 3 knights holding the centre of the battlefield here, looking across the battlefield at the guard armour and getting their guns primed and ready. Behind the knights we've got some rhinos, some with marines in. This one's got a large squad, and then the smaller squads that are in the raised back in that rhino. An inquisitor force led by Grey Fax is behind the rhinos there. Another rhino from the red scorpions here. Up on the landing pad there's a squad of scorpions with a slight command element at the back here, and at the front there's an assassin. The other assassins, I've been told, are lurking on the battlefield and are going to be making an appearance later on. We have got the assault ramp here, element of sisters there with a Land Raider, and that is it. So with this mission, the Imperial forces over here will be going first, as per the rules, unless of course the Guard can steal the initiative. Come on! Oh no. So over to turn 1 for the Marines.
So at the start of each battle round there's also a Exterminatus protocol which goes off. In this first round we've rolled for Orbital Barrage. So each of us picks a point on each side of the board, and within D6 inches of that, the units in that D6 suffers D3 mortal wounds. So I've chosen right here in the middle of these tanks. So I'm going to roll for the inches. Which is 2 inches, so it's going to be, how many units there, Dom? Just the...
so these will count as individual, so you'll be hitting that one
and that one. Yeah, fine. So D3 mortal wounds on, it needs a 4, sorry, on a 4 up, sorry, pardon me. So that one on a 4 up. No, and this one on a 4 up. Yes, so this tank here takes D3. So it takes 3 wounds.
Nice.
And we're back in a minute to do Dom's side. So Dom has chosen the point which is basically going to be the objective marker right there. So he's now going to roll for the number of inches. 3 inches, so that's probably going to be...
Squad and maybe the characters.
Squad and the characters, I think. Any characters you basically, it's a 5 up as opposed to just the
squad.
Okay, so the guy here, he needs a 5 up for him.
No,
and a 4 up for the squad.
No, nothing.
So that's the end of the barrage bit. So we'll now move on into the Inquisition turn 1. So at the end of turn 1 movement for the Inquisition over here, as you can see, there's been a general move across the front line. The 3 knights stomping forward towards their quarry in the middle here. The 2 flyers from the Grey Knights over there have zoomed up the board a bit just to get some weapons in range. But other than that, they're not going to go too much further forward from there. Over on the right flank here, we had the Redeemer moving up, giving Celestine a bit of cover with her Battle Sister squad here. The objective holders, the intercessors here and also over this side, have decided to stay put for the time being. However, all the transports here which are carrying men are heading towards the objectives in the middle. So we're back in a minute with some shooting. So at the end of shooting in the first turn for the Inquisition, quite a successful turn in the centre of the park. However, it did take shooting from pretty much all these knights, both the flyers using their Storm Strike missiles, and also the ram, which did a very cheeky little run in there in the movement phase to take out the Baneblade, which then blew up, which then took off various wounds here. However, it also caused another tank to blow up, which also took off another set of wounds here. And I think in total we worked out probably about 50 to 60 wounds in total was taken off by that one little fusillade in the middle there. However, I don't think the Guard are going to be too put back by that particular thing there, because they still have an awful lot of weaponry. So that is pretty much all the shooting done. We'll now move on into turn 1 for Guard.
Right, so turn 1 movement for the Guard. So along the front here, the Hellhounds have charged forwards, joined in by the Valkyries. They're all moving forward here. Back here, the Guard are holding their position, holding on to the objectives and the ruins, making sure that nobody can come close. We'll see though. Down here, we use the stratagem straight away, repairing 1 wound onto the tank commander, so put them back up to the next bracket. The Salamander command vehicle has used its ability as well, so he's adding +1 to hits on there as well. So I went from 5 to 4 to freeze again. Across on the other end, we have got the Trojan has increased the Shadow Sword because we need to put some vengeance back upon the invaders. And down here, the Torx Primes are all heading up on this flank here, while the Russes and the Guard are staying put. So let's move into turn 1 psychic and shooting for the Guard. Right, turn 1 shooting for the Guard. And down here we had rocket teams all with take aim firing down with Valkyries into the Land Raider here. Knocked it down quite significantly, and then the Devil Dog used its melter cannons and destroyed it, causing an explosion which came back, killing off the 2 Gemini and causing some damage onto Celestine there, so now she's quite exposed. Over here we opened up with the Hellhound flaming into the Imperial Knight, wounding it and causing a wound, then playing the stratagem overlapping fields of fire. So that adds +1 to your rolls when targeting for Cadian units. So back here, all the Russes, everything fired down into him, taking him out of action there. Back here, we had fire coming in from the Sentinels and the Baneblade, taking this thing down to 6 wounds, which is helps a lot, but I'm not sure it's quite out of action yet. The Stormblade here fired across the field into the other knight there, knocking a bit of damage off of it, but not enough really to be a game changer, which is a bit of a shame. We also had some anti-air fire firing up as well, crack missiles firing up, did nothing at all to this thing. It's a flying house. Can't do anything to it whatsoever. Back here though, the Shadow Sword fired down here into the Land Raider, causing close to 40 wounds and destroying that. And finally, the only other bit of shooting we had here were the autocannons and heavy bolters, and a bit of demolisher firing coming up in here, doing some damage onto this flyer there. And that is pretty much it for our turn 1 shooting. So we killed 2 Land Raiders, a knight, did damage to another knight, did damage to a couple of flyers. It's a pretty good turn. So let's move into turn 2 for the Inquisition forces.
Okay, so just before turn 2 for the Inquisition starts, there was a virus bomb that went off. Essentially, you'll see around the place quite a few dice on infantry, because the virus bomb, essentially on a 4-up, any infantry unit takes D3 mortal wounds. So you can see there's a couple in here. A few squads lost 1 or 2 men, nothing serious really. Sisters over here lost a couple, and also the characters here all lost various amounts of wounds, including Grey Fax, who apparently was singled out by the virus bomb. However, that is that. So movement phase, as you can see here, the 2 Storm Ravens have shot overhead and shot themselves in here to get lots of firing solutions. You hear this assault ram has zipped around here to either shoot here or over here. Choices. The 2 knights have advanced as far as they can go because they need to get themselves involved before they get shot down, because a lot of firepower is all heading towards them at this moment in time. and all of the rhinos, razorbacks, and also this assassin has popped up and moved forward down here. Celestine has just hung back for a turn because she's potentially could die quite easily to a lot of shots, as she's the nearest unit, letting the Sisters of Battle unit here get forward to put the melters down on that unit there. So that's the end of the movement. We'll now move on into psychic and shooting. So as turn 2 shooting ends for the Inquisition forces, not an awful lot done in the way of body count, however lots of wounds chipped off in various locations. So down here the Devil Dog and the Hellhound have both been taken down a fair few wounds. There, 3 of them being from the Cladders who dropped in at the end of the movement phase. Over here we had all these flyers here shoot at various tanks on the ground level. We avoided the super heavies this time round because we were trying to chip off some of the standard Russes. We took out one, what was that, the
tank commander.
So with the tank commander down there, took off a few wounds off these 3 hiding down here, but nothing too substantial. And over here, fired into the Shadow Sword, but didn't do anything because of very poor wounding. However, over this side, we had the Taurox, who's taken out quite a heavy amount of wounding from this knight here, who's ready to obviously charge in and try and mince them up a little bit just to get them off the board. In the middle, the other knight there fired its battle cannon at the central one there, taking it down to 5 wounds. It's also hopefully ready to try and get an assault if it can do so. That is all of the shooting, so we'll now move on into the assault phase. So as turn 2 for the Inquisition comes to an end, the assault phase is ended with mixed results. In the middle here, this knight did try to make a charge at the Russ down here, unfortunately failed its charge and took 2 wounds for its attempt. Over in the other side here, this knight did actually manage to get in, and I think ended up doing 6 wounds apiece to each of these. No, sorry, 3 wounds and 6 wounds respectively here and here. So all right, just to sort of chip them down a bit. So now we'll head on into turn 2 for the Imperial Guard.
Right, so the end of turn 2 movement for the Guard, and generally across the field most of the tanks here remain stationary, getting ready for the Grey Knights to make their big appearance and teleport onto the battlefield. Across here, of course, the fast moving stuff is still pressing forwards. The Valkyries are coming in for a strafing run along here onto the landing pad to harass the enemy. Both the Hellhound and the Banewolf are going to be putting some flaming death up there as well. The other 2 Valkyries, one putting fire into the Inquisition, and the other one is going to be putting some support fire down there. So the main movement on the battlefield is actually across here. Let's go and have a little look, where the Stormtroopers have escaped the grasp of the Knight and are pushing along the trench work here towards the scout and towards this valuable objective. They're also joined by another squad which have grav shooted in, and a command squad with a commander back here in the trench work. They're hoping to put some fire down across the field into the Inquisition force there. So that's movement. Let's see what happens in turn 2 psychic and shooting for the Guard. Turn 2 psychic and shooting for the Imperial Guard. So down here we put a lot of fire into the squad here. There's killing over like almost half of the squad. The fire came in from the Banewolf, the Hellhound. These 2 Valkyries fired in, causing a few casualties. Almost 10 wounds in total, which is pretty good going. Down here, the crippled, well, almost crippled Devil Dog fired off, reducing this one down to 4 wounds there. Along the backfield here, las guns, autocannons fired up into the sister squad, causing some minor damage, but nothing really significant. The missiles, however, fired up into the Storm Raven behind and caused a bit of damage on there, luckily. Across here as well, the Bane Blade fired again, doing almost nothing to these back here, so it's not too good at the moment. Although we did some damage with the Leman Russes at the front here. They fired over into the Knight, taking it down to 8 wounds there, which has helped significantly, as that's going to reduce its capacity to crush tanks. And back here, the other Knight has gone. The Demolisher cannons both fired in, the auto cannons fired in, The executioner cannon fired and finally destroyed that tank. Although it did not explode, luckily. We did a fair bit of damage and it is gone. Back across here, the scouts have taken fire from this Taurox here. And the squad that have jumped in at the back. The volley guns, however, fired off into the apothecary, reducing him down to 3 wounds, which has been quite handy for the potential assault that may come soon. And the volley guns here fired off into the Death Cult assassins, taking off all but one there. So lots of little bits of damage and a knight going in this this phase. We're not going into assault, so we're going to move straight into turn 3 for the Imperial forces.
At the start of turn 3 for the Inquisition, over here we had a drop of interceptors coming at the back here at the end of the movement phase, which are just trying to tie up this back here. There is a stratagem that Dom has played, which we're going over in a second. Over this side of the board, we had some more arrivals in the middle. We had a strike squad jump out of the Rhino there. The Rhino has then moved on this way. The Redemptor here has moved himself out of cover, trying to come into combat possibly. Both assassins have turned up at the end here that were left over, so the Evasaur and the Colexus. We've had another Rhino move forward, a Rhino move forward, the Knight move forward. We've had a Dread Knight drop in from reserve. We've also had another Dread Knight, the Grandmaster Dread Knight drop in there, along with his Paladin squad there and an Apothecary. Over here at the back, all the flyers are going to hover mode. A bit of a risky move, some might say, but to be honest, I need to be able to shoot as many things as I can on the back line. Plus a squad of Purgation squad has dropped out with their Psy cannons ready to hopefully light up a few targets at the back. That is the movement. We'll now move on to resolve a quick stratagem. So as I put down my reserves, Dom was able to declare his superior intelligence, which means he gets to fire out a sequence at -1 to hit. So here we go.
Right, so 6 normal las guns hot shots hitting on 4s. Okay, so that's 2. Then 5s to wound. That's 1 wound.
-2. One has fallen.
Next, we've got the volley guns. So they're 4 shots each, and because of the regiment, on a roll of a 6, create an extra shot. So hitting on 4s. Whoa!
Oh dear.
So that's 4 extra shots. So re-rolling.
So 4 hits and 4 extra.
4 extra. Right,
that's not bad.
There we go. So these are wounding on 4s because they're strength 4. Ah no!
Just the one.
Just the one, -2. So another one and a plasma pistol. So hit, wounded.
Another one
and
down.
Another one. So that's 3 dead.
Not
Nice.
bad for an interruption. Right, we'll now move on to Inquisition, turn 3, shooting and psychic. So at the end of turn 3, shooting for the Inquisition, a lot of shots were fired. However, it was mainly a whittling down job. Over here we had the remaining interceptors here shoot in and take out a couple of guys from this squad. The snipers tried to take out, actually they did take out that vehicle, didn't they, at the back here, I think, yeah? Yeah. A couple died in an explosion. This was taken off 2 more wounds by the Grandmaster, along with, I think, nothing off that one actually in the end either. All of the Paladins here shot into this Demolisher, and it's down to 5 wounds now. We also had the flyer back here shoot down into the Baneblade, didn't do anything. We also had both these flyers here shoot into various vehicles down here, and these didn't do too much in the end, apart from I think the las cannon in the back of that Punisher, which did down to 7 wounds there. This Purgation squad here managed to take out the command vehicle and take a wound off one of the Sentinels. It is a squadron though, so that's not too bad. The Knight here rolled a double 1 on number of shots and didn't manage to do anything, although it was quite crucial, but hey, can't do much about that. Over here, slightly a bit more of a success. We had basically the 2 other fast attack vehicles here, which were basically Bane Wolf and, was it the Devil Dog, were taken out via various combinations of shooting, and we had a couple of wounds taken off this flyer here as well. So that is pretty much all the shooting done. We're now going to move on to some combat and see if the Grey Knights can do some damage.
So as turn 3 assault ends for the Inquisition, quite a lot's happened here, so bear with us. So down here we had the Redemptor go into the remaining, well, Hellhound I think it was, and managed to take that out nicely. We had Celestine charge into the Fire with the Gemini and take it down, into the Vendetta and take it down to 7 wounds. Moving over here, the Evasaur charged into the central crater here, managing to take out, I think it was 3, in the end, so not too bad. Also, in case you are wondering, there is no morale test in this scenario because that's one of the scenario kind of points. So if you're wondering why stuff is hanging around a lot, it's because there's no morale. In the middle here, the Knight managed to take out one of its Lean Russes, but it's still in combat with this one here. The Rhino is obviously assisting with the charger to try and block the shots going into it, as it's been quite wounded. Also down here, the Paladin squad managed to get in and take out its Demolisher. They've also piled into the Punisher here and this Demolisher, so hopefully that should limit the amount of firepower coming to them. But unfortunately, obviously this Shadow Sword back here is still in play, and it did take out the Cestus Assault Ram when it charged in, trying to do a last-ditch attack on it there, but failing. Over here, the remaining Purgation squad back here got into the Sentinels, managed to take one out, although that was mainly the Librarian. But they're still in combat, so hopefully they can do something in the following turn, unless they move out. At the back of the table over here, we had a failed charge by the Intercessors, sadly. So they are probably going to get rinsed by a lot of gunfire next turn. Not to mention all the Tauroxes here, because unfortunately the Grandmaster had one job to do, and he failed at that job by not getting into combat. But that is all of the assault. So we'll now move on into turn 3 for the Imperial Guard.
Turn 3 for the Imperial Guard in our movement phase. Down here, we've got this squad that have moved out of cover. This squad have disembarked from one of the Tauroxes, from this one back here. The other 2 Tauroxes full of troops are still pushing away, hopefully leaving these guys to deal with the Dread Knight there. Back here, the larger squad of Scions are now pushing up towards where the scouts are. A command squad with another commander have come down here to put a bit of firepower in there, leaving this squad here as well. Hopefully they're able to do something. 2 Valkyries have also come in. This one here, fleeing combat with Celestine, so it's not able to do anything, but this one can definitely put a bit of firepower. It's also in hover mode at the moment. Down here, 3 Russes are pushing up forward here, putting some firepower perhaps into the Dread Knight, or possibly into the Terminators, we will see. 2 Leman Russes here, fallen out of combat. Moving across, we've got another Leman Russ that's also fallen out of combat here, away from the Knight. Across here, the infantry are falling out of combat from the Assassin and lining up shots here. Down here, this squad are moving up to engage the Sisters and to deal with them. And finally, this Valkyrie here has gone in hover mode and he's going to fill the landing pad full of frag death. So that's it. Let's move into turn 3, psychic and shooting for the Guard. Right, so turn 3, psychic and shooting for the Imperial Guard. So down here you can notice that the Paladin squad have been dramatically reduced. There's only 3 of them there. They took fire from every quarter. They took fire from auto cannons and heavy bolters here. They took fire from plasma death here. They took fire from las guns. They took fire from a Baneblade. They took fire from everywhere. And there's now just 3 of them there. Possibly 3 is still too many, but we'll find out soon. The Shadow Sword, however, fired its main cannon across and took out the Grandmaster Dread Knight there. It took a little bit of damage from the others, but it's 3 up and vulnerable, was keeping him alive quite easily. So the fire came in from these guys as well. It just pinged off his armour there. Across here, all the scouts have now been killed. Gatling fires come in and just shredded them. A bit of fire came in from the rear here as well, contributed a little bit. And back here, the plasmas fired and the volley guns fired, and this squad has been reduced down to 3, but the flamers are still there, which is not particularly nice. Back across the field, we had the Vendetta firing its las cannons into the Knight. It did a bit of damage, but Tom played the stratagem to increase its invulnerable save by 1. So it was joined, it had 1 wound left, and a battle cannon here fired in, killing it off, causing an explosion, which has caused a bit of damage to the rhinos here, and a bit of damage to the Dread Knight there. And the Dread Knight was also shot upon by the super heavy that's tucked itself still down here, so a nice clear avenue of fire fired in there. And the assassin here was las-gunned to death, and missiles were fired, everything. And yeah, that's happened there. Once again though, the Valkyries have failed their shooting missions and fired rocket pods up here doing nothing again, so not good times for them. Let's move into turn 3 assault for the Imperial Guard. Turn 3 assault for the Imperial Guard. So down here, the stormtroopers have charged into the bunker, did nothing to the librarian, although the librarian punted one straight back off the building and is now dead. Elsewhere across the battlefield, the combat with the Sentinels continues. Neither party were able to do anything, so a bit of a stalemate down here still. And that is it. We're moving on to turn 4 for the Inquisition, and let's see what they can do in return.
So just before the movement commenced, we went through and did the cyclonic bombardment, which is from the mission rules, and it's fair to say that Dom had the worst of it. I think over here he lost so many squads and characters in this area, because basically the rule for this one is that everything on the board takes D3 mortal wounds. So I think as characters down here died, every tank has obviously at least taken 1 hit point off. Some of them have taken more. I think these guys all took 3 and 2 each. Yeah, my flyers took a couple as well. I lost my captain over here. I also lost Celestine, but she got back up again with the superior there. Because also this is, just so you know, this is also at the end of my movement phase, we're just wrapping this all up together. Pretty much quite a lot of stuff died, and then movement-wise, Celestine has moved up here. This strike squad has moved forward. The Redemptor here has moved around to try and deal with one of the flyers. We also have over here a squad got out of its Rhino and went towards the squads in the crater here. Shifting over to here, the 2 flyers shot over this way to try and deal with the tank squadrons over here. And we also had another strike squad jump out and deal with that. And also at the back over there, we had the Interceptor squad, which is pretty much banged up now, trying to deal with the last remaining remnants of those stormtrooper squads at the back there. Probably going to be a tall order considering there's quite a lot on the battlement still. So that is the end of movement phase. We'll now move on to psychic and shooting for the Inquisition's forces. Okay, so at the end of turn 4, shooting and psychic for the Inquisition, we have had over here various wounds taken off of these tanks, and here we did manage to take out 1 of the exterminators there, which was done mainly by the flyers here and a little help from other locations. In the middle here, these guys didn't actually manage to do anything, unfortunately. Moving on to this side of the board, in this crater area, the strike squad here shot into various units, managed to thin out quite a lot of them with their bolter fire. The collectors also lended a hand, but didn't actually manage to do much, sadly. In the central part here, everything in this area shot up at this flyer, taking it down to 2 wounds. So that was including everything up here as well. So nothing really spectacular at all. And also over this side of the board, the interceptors finally completed their objective from 2 turns ago when they arrived, to do something by killing that 2 men there. So really wasn't that impressive. They get the golf clap of legendary status. And here, this squad here shot into the squad that was here, managed to finish it off. So that's pretty much it. So we'll now move on into assault phase and see if we can take out maybe another tank or 2. So as we end turn 4 Inquisition assault down here, the 2 remaining paladins charged in and managed to take a couple of wounds off the tank and also kill a couple of members of that squad. Moving over to this side of the board, we have the Redemptor in the middle here, managed to take out the flyer and then consolidate towards the other flyer. However, I think that one will be flying off shortly. Into the middle ground on this side, we have The Scorpions charged into the flyer and didn't manage to do anything bar. I think we take 1 wound off it in the end. No, didn't even take a wound off it, no.
Sorry.
No, and then in here, this strike squad managed to completely destroy the remaining 2 men from that guardsman squad to hold on to that objective there. However, you got this thing sitting right in front of them, so it could be quite a painful, short-lived experience for them. Other than that, that was pretty much it for combat. We'll now roll into turn 4 for the Imperial Guard.
Turn 4 movement for the guard, and it's kind of turning into small fights everywhere, which is quite nice for a guard APOC game to have battles in every quarter going on. There's guard models everywhere. So down on this quarter here, we've got the remaining Scion forces now have deployed here. So we've got a squad here with a Commissar Lord moving up onto this objective, trying to take out these Grey Knights here. Those 2 pointing fire in. The other squad has deployed onto the objective here, because keeping in mind there's going to be more exterminatus stuff coming up in the turn 5. These guys are just spinning around, getting ready to put some volley gun shots in here, as well as the Valkyries coming in to put some support fire in as well, hopefully to deal with them. Tanks pretty much staying exactly where they are. This Demolisher has fallen out of combat, as well as that squad there, to kind of free up more shots onto the Paladin squads there. Down here, the Baneblades just churned forward slightly, engines roaring, potentially to put some pain into that squad. The Punisher there as well, getting ready to engage. Even though it's only on 3 wounds, it's still going to do a lot of shots without going anywhere. The Vendetta, though, escaped, luckily, and has flown off in that direction. And down across here, everyone has pretty much remained stationary, and we're just going to put a lot of shots onto those Grey Knights and knock them off of that objective there. So, oh, one last thing, sorry. The Valkyrie over here, it's spun round in hover mode and going for Grey Fax. We're going to take care of her. It's down to Grey Fax. So many good loyal guardsmen have died. So, let's move into shooting and psychic. End of turn 4 shooting for the Imperial Guard. The battlefield's looking a bit thinner now and a bit more slimline. Down here there's 1 Marine left. Unfortunately, he's the one with the melter gun. The Punisher turned round and did a first volley of fire into this. Only hit on 6s now because he's only got 3 wounds left, but managed to kill a few of them off. It was joined also by guardsmen back here who fired plasmas and other guns in and reduced that squad dramatically down to 1. So he's going to be dead at the beginning of turn 5 due to these exterminatus rules. The main cannon fired down across the field into this Grey Knight squad down there, reducing it down to 2. The Demolisher cannon actually also fired into them. Heavy bolters fired up into the air with las cannons and took that down by 1 wound. Across the field, a plasma cannon fired in here, taking a squad down quite dramatically. It's down to 1 here. It had a lot of small fire coming in as well from these 2, trying to do something before they perish. Sad state of affairs where everything is close to death now. Missiles came in here, killing off 1 of the Primaris Marines. They are still holding their landing pad. Across here, this Valkyrie fired its las cannon down, killing off Grey Fax down there. She's sheltered as a coward would behind the defence line. Down here, volley gunfire came in, killing off 1 of the Grey Knights there, leaving just a sergeant by himself, possibly praying and preparing for death. Down here, the the stormtroopers, sorry, with assistance from down here, fired into the Marines and the Razorback and leaving the Apothecary on 1 wound there. So it's a potential charge for this squad. We're going to charge in and kill him and take that objective. Or we could leave and let him die. Decisions. As you can tell from my my tone, everything's going to be dying next turn. If you're by yourself on this battlefield, the chances are you're dying before anything happens. So, oh, one last thing actually, Shadow Sword. There's 1 squad that aren't being affected by anything. So fired his volcano cannon down the field into the Rhino, which was sheltering by the landing pad, blowing it up, and the Marines are now just standing around looking to the skies for salvation. So let's move into turn 5 for the Inquisitors. All right, so turn 5 movement and shooting for the Inquisitor forces. And the battlefield is getting worse and worse as these cyclonic bombardments are going off everywhere. People are just falling to the ground, dying. So, as you can see, the casualties are just mounting up. There's so few models left just from being killed from the battlefield effects. But basically, 2 Storm Ravens here have broken loose and went after the Valkyrie and the Vendetta, shooting both of them down. So the one's been taken down out of action here, and the Vendetta's also been taken out of action. The Inquisition forces are quite thin on the ground now. It's mainly down to the Scorpions hanging on to the back, hanging on to the landing pad, hoping the Storm Ravens will come in and assist them and get them off the planet. But these guys here are putting some firepower back up into this Valkyrie here. That's down to 7 wounds. This squad down here just holding firm. There's not many targets left because, like the Inquisition force, the Guard are suffering equally as badly. Most of the command structure has been destroyed. Across the battlefield as well, Celestine and the remaining Gemini have come in here, shot a couple of the Guardsmen off, and about to charge into that officer to get themselves closer to that objective there. But yeah, the battlefield is just full of bodies now, and those that are left are just praying for a swift death. So let's move on to turn 5 assault for the Inquisition forces. Right, so turn 5 assault for the Inquisition forces. So Celestine and the Gemini charged the junior officer, platoon commander, and killed him quite quickly. And across down here, the remaining Grey Knight and the Librarian killed off one of the Sentinels, leaving just one. And that fight continues. So we're going to move on to turn 5 for the Imperial Guard. Turn 5 movement for the Imperial Guard. So down here, the Salamander and the last remaining Guardsmen on this position are now trying to face off against Celestine, and hopefully they're able to do something. If worse comes to worse, the Baneblade across the field that's been pushing up slowly will be able to put a bit of support fire in there. But the Baneblade's main mission is to try and do something about this in the centre, or possibly to make sure the landing pad is out of action. There's still a fair few targets on the battlefield for the Baneblade to fire at. Moving across the battlefield, we've got the forces down in this corner which haven't really moved. The Guardsmen are just holding on to this position. There's not many of them left. Like I said, there was a platoon in pretty much both of these objectives, and only there's a handful of Guardsmen left. The Leman Russes here are moving up as well. The Scions have taken this objective. They're holding it and preparing to hold it until their very last breath. Tauroxes are remaining stationary. These guys are holding this objective up here, and this Valkyrie's gone into hover mode and is going to put a bit of firepower possibly down there. But that's it. We're going to move on to shooting turn 5 for the Guard. Right, the end of turn 5, shooting and assault. So down here, the volcano cannon fired up, taking out one of the remaining Storm Ravens. That has now gone. The autocannons fired into the pit, with the plasma cannon as well firing in and destroying the Dreadnought there, so that's now gone. Across the field, not much happened really. Celestine and the Gemini are able to shrug off all the shots we were able to put in there, and they are still standing. In assault, however, this fight continued. No one was able to do any damage to one another, which is a bit of a shame. The Guardsmen weren't brave enough to charge a supposed holy figure, so they remained where they are there. And so we're ending the game there. The score is 7-2 to the Guard. It's been a very, very bloody affair, mainly down to the mission rules, where we're losing so many models per turn to mortal wounds. Myself, my model of the match will of course be the Shadow Sword at the back. It basically just sat there most of the game. It wasn't particularly exciting, but it did just kill things when required. But I think a special mention for the Scions, the Militarum Tempestus, because they're the ones who took the attack to the Inquisition forces and captured themselves 2 objectives. So that's pretty good going. Tom, have you got model of the match or a unit of the match?
My paladins, because of the amount of fire they soaked up in one turn. It may not have done much, but they took so much fire from the other parts of the board that I think it would have been pretty nasty if they'd not done that.
Yeah. So the paladins, of course, came across and basically took like a whole tank company's worth of fire, and were still walking at the end of it and made themselves into the barricades at the end. So yeah, very, very, very valuable unit. But except for that, it's been a really good game. So from myself and Tom, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Take care.